This is a letter to Sri Lanka. I would have called it a love letter, but not everything I have to say about this country is kind. You may have not heard about this little island with a lion on its flag dropped into the Indian Ocean, or you may know it because of the cricket talent, or the cinnamon in your kitchen cupboard. Now, I heard of Sri Lanka because that's where my ancestors are from. It's where I'm from, and for the longest time I was running from my nationality. I was running from the place where couples sit by the waves and feed each other, where I stand by the waves and feel lonely. But then the ice cream man cheers me up, and so do the men selling street food that may not be as aesthetic as deep-fried Oreos, but feeds a whole family. This is Gullface, Colombo. Day and night, it's a place where hotels are lined one after another, not scared of attacks. A place that celebrates modern art, a place where hailing a tuk-tuk will take no more than 10 seconds, guys. Yes, even when it's pouring down with tropical rain and you start to regret your decision to walk to Peta for some acharu, there's something beautiful about warm, tropical rain. There's something beautiful about embracing not just modern art, but art that was built off of colonialism. Art that was built by Sri Lankan slaves, Sri Lankan artists, that gets labeled Dutch or British and suddenly has a $900 price tag on it. What changed on this visit to Colombo, though, was how I managed to feel so at home in a place that felt so alien to me a few years back. I made coffee and worked away. My bones knew I was at home. My bones knew that I was in a place that I could finish my university dissertation in, and that everything would be okay. Whew, deep breaths. My bones knew how to pick the perfectly ripened mangoes from Sri Lankan trees, and my bones knew how to eat them, leaving little to no flesh behind. It's a skill, y'all. I learned that fruit was sacred in this land, not only because of its Ayurvedic properties and vitamin density, but because the cost of living made it a luxury. It's sad to think about there being piles and piles of produce, but a lessening population that can actually feed on it. This is guava. I love Sri Lankan guava. My bones are strong enough to chew its hardcore. My bones are strong enough to lift weights, and my bones are strong enough to play squash with my dad, even though I made a fool of myself most of the time. This is me making a fool of myself. Being in Sri Lanka means not stopping, even if it's 35 degrees outside. Now, 35 degrees also means it's a perfect place for ice cream at midnight. This is a place where late night dessert is a given, not just something special. This is carnival ice cream, and it was a part of my parents' childhood and now a part of mine. But something that wasn't a part of my parents' childhood, however, are these rooftop swimming pools and skyscrapers and silver buildings and big spending and expensive cars and fancy clothes. But all of that exists alongside lamprai, an age-old technique that refuses to change. And even with the changing of times, banana leaves and coconuts will still rise. Now, one thing you'll learn from this video, if you don't know it already, that is that Sri Lankans love to eat. It's not obsessive or unnecessary, it's a part of the culture. It's a place where people ask, have you eaten? Instead of, how are you today? You see, there's food for all times, meal times and road trips. We drove to Jaffna. It took us 10 hours, but I'm so happy that we did it. It's a beautiful place with beautiful people. But it's just been hurt by the colonizers just as much as the rest of the country. They broke our coral reefs and made forts out of them. These are forts to keep us away. Forts that said, my skin is white and therefore this land is mine. But now, now we sit on that land surrounded by family, laughing, sharing jokes, almost forgetting how badly we were treated, taking back our houses and restoring them, and sitting in their living rooms on Christmas morning that just so happens to be my mother's birthday. Merry Christmas. Now, this is the first time that we spent our Christmas day in a bustling market, but I've never felt so surrounded by culture before. Look at these patterns and colors and fabrics. And yes, you guessed it, most of it was food. Food that was dyed all sorts of colors and shapes and forms that my words will fail to describe. And candy made from peanuts, semolina, coconut, and palm treacle, jackfruits, and tree bark that we actually eat. Leave it to Sri Lankans to not let anything go to waste, by the way. If it grows in the soil, it can be fed to a mouth. Now, apart from the markets, Jaffna had so much to offer. We went on boat rides to secluded islands that I actually never heard of. This specific one is called Fort Hammonheil. It used to be a prison. It's now got a little bit more vibrant and appealing to the eye. But I wonder who stayed here. I wonder if they knew there was a tropical paradise just outside their prison cell. Right. So it was now 2024. And we went on another road trip. And we met a little friend in Uluwatu while grabbing pizza, and I hope this little man is doing okay right now. We came down south to Ahangama. Now, growing up in Malawi, we were blessed with the most beautiful sunsets, ones that I took for granted until I moved to the UK. And now I take pictures and videos of the sky because it's always there, and it's always been there, but it's never looked the same, not once. It's like reshuffling a deck of cards, if you will. Now, my family play a lot of cards. I don't know if that's just because we've run out of things to talk about, or if we're just all highly competitive and waiting for that next win. But I loved life down south. Now, maybe one day I'll end up here, surfing, having a smoothie bowl for breakfast, washing the salt out of my hair. And before I knew it, our annual trip to the motherland was over. And I was left alone in Colombo for a few more days before I too was set to fly out, leaving behind extended family, linen and the softest fabrics, leaving behind rice and curry for breakfast, leaving behind what I think is the most authentic side of myself, actually. The Angie that has black hair and brown skin and eats with her hands and goes to Cargill's to buy lemon puff and goes to one Golface to ride down the escalators and overworks her fingers because she played too much carom and tires herself from swimming in the sea, so she lies in bed while reading a novel with an Asian pear and silver tip tea on her bedside table. Good night and goodbye for now. Bye.